Here we are, chapter 5. This one first. Here we are, chapter 5, the law of receiving. Oh, yeah. So let me just pick that up real quick. Right, so chapter 5, the law of receiving. Funnily enough, I was actually trying to record this after I did chapter 4, same day. I went to training, got back, was knackered, was sat here trying to pay attention and be attentive to it. And I couldn't even give it my attention properly. And I was sat here taking notes and just lost. So I just went, sack that, I'm going to sleep. Went to sleep, back up, trained, and then did some work, etc. And now I'm here, trying this again. Sort of just continued where I left off, gave it a listen again. When I went to go get food, came back, listened to the rest, took more notes. It's quite a hefty one, to be fair. Yeah, quite a hefty one. However, I do like it. So this is chapter 5, law of receiving. That's what I'm going to do for this. 5. There's the thumbnail again. Right. So understanding reduces the greatest to simplicity, and lack of it causes the least to take on the magnitude of complexity. So again, that's just obviously quite simple, just saying that whatever you understand is very easy and simple, especially if you simplify it. However, what you don't understand, which could be something very simple, now becomes something that is not very simple in the slightest, right? And then it goes on to tell us about the first law. So, first law of creation, which is given and it's also saying that it's the fundamental of life. The attitude of getting is the law of life in a congested state or in repressed action. And then it goes on to sort of make a comparison with radio signal comparison to prayer received when the frequency is put out. So essentially what it was saying was, when someone's on a radio station and they put out that frequency of that radio station, that's all they have to do. They just put it out, and whoever's on the other end dialed into that frequency will receive that frequency of that radio station. The person in the radio station doesn't need to do anything extra. They just put that frequency out there, whoever's on that bandwidth will get it. And it's the same as with prayer. So give me a second. So when you put out that prayer, you should also be shifting to a point where you are able to actually receive back what you put out to get. When it does come back, you should be in a position to actually get that. You don't want to put out that you want all these things and you're not on the right radio station or frequency or position to actually get those things, because then it's just like it's going to be there for you, but you haven't realized it or gotten it, so to speak, because you're not dialed in on the right frequency, right radio station, however you want to take it. So I took that as quite a good comparison and analogy. Dreamers, wishers spend their time in dreams and wishes, enjoying the ideas rather than having it released and received and made reality. So a lot of people will just wish and hope and dream, and in that dreaming, wishing and hoping, that's where they get their enjoyment, just thinking about it. Whereas they really want to just have that idea in their head and sort of release it, so that it can then be also received. Whatever it is that you're looking to get can be received. Rather than the guy in the radio station just listening to his own whatever he's playing or she's playing, whatever they're playing in the radio station, without actually putting that out anywhere for anyone to receive. It would just be a bit silly to even call yourself a radio station at that point. Trivial things, so trivial things happen all the time when you have a thought and release it. It comes back to you. So the examples that were made, thinking of friends, pieces of clothing, cars, whatever, like anything that you think of that you've maybe thought of for a little bit, like even if you're I've not spoken to that friend for a long time, and then that friend phones you, or you bump into that friend on the street, is the example that it was making. The example that it was making in the book. Sister messaging me at 6:30. Damn. 6 a.m. for her. Anyway, right. This happens due to releasing the thought. Express your needs through prayer or otherwise and release it. Don't hold on to it and don't stress over it. The mind's like a sponge. So when you're stressing over it and you're squeezing and holding on to that sponge, you're not letting that sponge, i.e. yourself, receive anything. So you're just holding on, squeezing, holding it tight, stressing over it. Whereas when you release it, then the sponge also expands, which allows the sponge to actually then take in and absorb something. Whereas it can't absorb anything when it's in that squeezed, stressed state. All you need to do is just sort of let go. And once you let go, then you can absorb again like a sponge. Giving always precedes and predetermines the reception, whether it is your thought, word, service, or deed. Some pose that you should be given half the time and the other half getting. And then this comparison that was made was hot and cold can be used as an example that shows half and half doesn't really make sense, as if you are looking to get heat, half your mind shouldn't be on cold. It wouldn't really make sense for half your mind to be on cold when you're trying to get heat. Rather, your entire focus should be on heat and getting that heat and building a fire, and concentrate on the receiving. So concentration on the receiving of the fire, and then getting yourself in a position where you can actually receive that fire, i.e. building the building blocks to start a fire. So even when you're getting, it's just like you're giving to yourself almost, and you're given the thought and energy and time to actually be prepared to receive. And more than anything, there's another good analogy actually later on that they gave. You, in the same manner you will, so if you're trying to get heat and you're just half of the time thinking of cold, you'll probably just stay cold, rather than building something to allow you to receive it. Money is just always giving itself. So what it was saying was that money is constantly giving itself. What does money get for giving itself away? Nothing other than the fact that that's its nature and its purpose. And then it goes on to say that just because man is selfish with money doesn't mean that money is selfish or money is that thing. It just shows the character of that person, rather than the character and nature of money. Whereas money is just constantly giving itself, and that's like it's currency, it's a current, it's a flow. Like we can go on about this. It's like it's stored in a bank, which you have in our like river banks and rivers flow and all this. Like we could get into that too, I guess. However, it's not really where I'm trying to go, and it wasn't really in the book either. However, just an example of money just sort of is, that's its purpose, to just be transferred constantly and constant and continuous movement. That's its nature. A man's nature can block that money by being stingy or whatever. However, that is going to also stop from receiving more. Man's purpose, sun shines on. So basically, just because money goes into people that you think that don't deserve it or aren't worthy of it or whatever, it doesn't matter. Money just goes everywhere because that's what money does. Like the same way the sun shines on everything and everywhere. It doesn't just go, oh well, you're not a good person, or you're not this, or you're not that. I'm not shining on you today. My goodness, what's going on today? Yeah. Okay. So the sun just sort of just shines everywhere. Sun shines. Money stays true to its nature. Same with the sun stays true to its nature. It just shines. So if you want to receive, and again, an example in the book was money. If you want to receive money, however, you can extrapolate and sort of turn this and transmute this into anything. If you're trying to receive money, you want to be like money in its nature, where you're just given, which is money's purpose, and which is just what it is. Become like money by just being useful and giving, just because that's what money does. So if you're on the same frequency as money, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to receive that money. Right and wrong ways of giving: careless, impulsive. Don't give to situations which are parasitic. Giving support to what already looks to support itself. Your judgment is what will differentiate what is worthy given to. When someone is making an effort to help themselves, that is the time to assist them. So you wouldn't necessarily want to give money to someone who you're watching burn money, because like, what use really is that? You want to give it to someone who's maybe actually doing something already with the little they have. So if someone is, again, parasitic in nature and they're not helping themselves in any situation, and you're trying to put a band-aid over something or help them before they help themselves, nothing's really going to come of it. And I also learned that, and it's funny because I was told that, didn't really want to believe it. I wanted to prove things wrong. However, reality in nature and the laws of nature, I guess, are just that. If someone wasn't already helping themselves and you now come along trying to help them with something, it's not really going to work. Yeah, like, you can't really force it, and trying to force it thinking that money or your help will help them. No, like, they need to already be in a position where they're helping themselves so that you can again assist them. They need to be in a position to where they are already trying to walk with crutches before you give them an extra crutch, so to speak. Whereas if they're on the floor lying down and you give them an extra crutch, they're not using the crutch they have, so they're probably not going to use that one either. Right, system. Otherwise, do not expect. Yeah, so don't expect something from nothing, as nothing cannot become something, and neither can something become nothing. It's the law of the universe in physics. I learned, was it physics, chemistry? Who knows? I learned it somewhere that matter can't be created nor destroyed. So yeah, matter, like, it's all whatever's been here has always been here. That's why people say, like, oh, there's nothing new under the sun, because everything that's here has always been here and will always be here. Due to it not being able to be destroyed, it's actually it just turns into something else, and then just continues that cycle of just becoming something else and becoming something else, or maybe it stays that thing. Like yeah, nothing. There's nothing that's wasted, essentially. Nothing can become. So then it gives an analogy of giving a gun to a child that doesn't understand or appreciate what a gun is. This will lead to potential damage or danger, because now you're giving it to the child, expecting the child to know. I just realised how quickly I'm speaking, however, get over it. Anyway, you're expecting the child to know the ramifications of that gun and whatever. Like, you're just expecting the child to know when the child doesn't. Like, what are you expecting to come of that? Some sort of danger can come of it, and some sort of damage can also come of it. Brilliant. Building on nothing won't create something. In your giving, there should be some form of good to add to. Yeah, again, so if someone's already got a crutch and they're sort of walking, you add in another crutch sort of makes sense in that situation. Add to something, not to nothing. Right, and then it goes on to talk about tithing. Tithing, biblical giving 1/10 of annual income. Money is found. Many, yeah, so then it goes on to talk about how many. Look, reading my own writing at the moment and struggling sometimes. It's actually quite funny. However, I'm getting there. Not written in so long, so writing again, and yeah, it's actually it's hilarious. Anyway, many have found this potent due to the systematic form of giving, which opens you up to receive. So if you're in a system of just doing something, then you're going to be in a system of also being in a position to receive it, is essentially what it was saying. And biblical tithing is just an easy way to do that, because what it goes on to also talk about is that it's a method and it's orderly. If your giving is consistent and orderly, so will your getting be consistent and orderly. And you can apply this to almost everything: gym, diet, study, reading, speaking. If you're giving your attention to your speech and constantly speaking on a consistent basis, then your speech is going to get better if you're aiming to have better speech. If you're aiming to have a good diet, then you consistently changing your diet or sticking to a diet that you're trying to change to, it's then essentially going to get you to a point where you can just be in that diet. Same with going to the gym. When you consistently start going to the gym, you want a six-pack or whatever it might be, you want muscles. Doing it consistently will then in turn bring round those muscles. However, you need to be in a position of wanting it, yes, desiring it, and actually going to the gym. And then being in the gym doing it is allowing you to actually receive those muscles. Whereas if you don't actually act on it or put yourself in a position like in the gym to receive those muscles, you're not going to get those muscles. And yeah, can sort of just, yeah, you can apply that to pretty much everything. Same with studying, etc. And I think the gym one is just the easiest one to sort of understand, like with having a six-pack and dieting and all those things. Like, yeah, you can want a six-pack or you can want to go to the gym, and not going isn't going to get you the result that you want. So you just sort of need to go, okay, I don't have a six-pack now, I want a six-pack. This is what I need to do to get a six-pack, and release that thought, start going to the gym, forgetting about the six-pack, and eventually you just somehow magically have a six-pack. Then it goes on to say, selfish gain and bargain will congest the mind. Do it with honesty and sincerity after giving before. Oh, sorry, just to add to the gym thing, the reason that was making sense with that was because it was talking about consistency and orderly, methodical. So if you're consistent, orderly, and methodical in your approach to the gym, you will get that. However, if you're sporadic, then you maybe sporadically, you won't really sporadically get a six-pack, you just won't really get one. Like you, or maybe you'll get like outline of one a little bit because you're going to the gym here and there. However, you won't actually get what you're looking for, same in a consistent manner. Same way with money. When you're tithing, it's orderly and systematic, then you will also receive back in an orderly, consistent, and systematic way. So yeah, do it with honesty and sincerity after giving. Prepare to also receive. Prepare and work to receive these things, like I just said. Dig ditches for water. There was an example made where people were, I think they went to Isaiah was the name or something. Anyway, someone told them like they wanted water and needed water, and they were praying for water, I guess, and they went and got advice, which was go and dig ditches. They were in the middle of the desert, so it doesn't necessarily really rain in the desert, hence why it's a desert. However, they still went ahead and dug those ditches, and lo and behold, it started raining and the ditches were filled with water. The army was able to get fed and like drank and whatever. Same with their animals that they had, etc. And they were now energized and ready to go into battle. Whereas if they put their mind on, I need and want this water, and didn't put themselves in a position to actually receive any water in any way, shape or form, then it would have rained and, I don't know, maybe there would have been patches of water here and there. However, the fact that they intentionally built those ditches and put action behind what they were looking to receive and prepared for it, they actually bared the fruits of that thought, that prayer, that need, that want. So that's the same way you should be acting. If you want a six-pack, start getting yourself in a position where you can actually get one, which is by going to the gym or by doing whatever it takes to get one. Prepare, make it easy for yourself to prepare. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Confusion doesn't work. No desire is felt until the mind is ready to receive. However, then what it was actually saying was, no desire is felt until the supply is ready to appear. Not conscious of things that aren't able to exist. Yeah, so then it was saying that you're not conscious of things that aren't able to exist. If it's not able to exist, or you're not able to get it, or there's not a supply for it, it's not going to be on your mind. Like, this even goes back to, I think, when it was talking about Henry Ford creating a car, and from going from carriages to car, like, that wouldn't have came up in anybody's mind if it wasn't possible, so to speak. Like, things that are impossible are just impossible. You don't think of them. They don't cross your mind because they are just impossible. I guess, yeah. And even with that, a quote that I love is, well, not even a quote, but I think a bar, it was a lyric actually. I think it was Kambata, and it says, you see impossible, I see I'm possible. So yeah, you could say and argue that everything's possible. However, yeah, pretty much what it's saying is, if you have the idea or thought, even in your head, of this thing that you want, then it's possible to achieve that thing. And it would be sort of silly to to think otherwise, because then you're just going to stop yourself from actually achieving and getting what you're looking to achieve and get. Now, prayer, desire, inner urge are magnets. The stronger they are, the stronger the power of your magnet, meaning the greater the attraction. You can't ask for too much from an infinite supply. I want you to think about that. I'm going to say one more time. You can't ask for too much from an infinite supply. This doesn't mean that you cannot actually, it's saying that it's impossible for you to ask for too much from something that's infinite. Something that's infinite, like there's no end to it, so you can't ask for too much. Like if there's an infinite amount of water in a bottle, like you can't ask for too much water because it's never going to run out. That's essentially what it's saying. So why would the infinite be finite? You get only what you can conceive, you get what you give. You may get things which appear not good, however, good can come through them. Like for example, a mistake allows you to correct it, which means greater knowledge, meaning that if that situation or thing was to happen again, you are now equipped better to approach that and you don't make that same mistake again. So do not give to the useless, selfish and thoughtless. Make proper use of your talents, energy, faculties and order. Create order. So make proper use of your talents, energy, faculties and also create order. Once you do those things, it's going to make things a lot easier for you to, I guess, receive, since that's the chapter we're on. Make use of what you have. Yep. So if your abilities and faculties are small, okay, so then it goes on to say that, make use of your talents, etc. However, if your talents, abilities and faculties are small, then give to them by increasing your abilities and faculties and talents. Just give time and effort into those things, however small they are, and grow them. Give into them so that then you can receive from them. Giving of service. So then, make use of what you have, and then it goes on to say giving of services in the business world is the basis of success and progress. And then it goes on to say that if a law like that works in one department, it will surely work wherever you choose to apply it. Hence why I was talking about gym, diet, studying, reading, whatever, all those things. It does make sense across the board, as long as it sort of makes sense in one thing. And I think I maybe said this in one of the discussions I was having with someone, where a lot of the time when I'm thinking about something or I say something or I'm thinking of an idea, if the idea makes sense and even ludicrous aspects of life, then it's like, alright, cool, this probably does make sense. It's funny because I remember making an example of something once. Somebody said you can't make an example of something basically saying I can't do what I was trying to do because something was an inanimate object and something else wasn't. It was like, well, I can, for one, and two, this law sort of goes on to prove that things that make sense just make sense, and there's no real two ways about it. The basis of success and progress in this sense. Yep. Wherever we choose to apply it. So if this law of giving in the business world, which essentially saying businesses obviously are there to receive and get, however the fact that giving is the basis of getting, in the business world this shows that giving is also the basis of getting. So if you're giving to yourself by going to the gym, you will then get a six-pack. I'm just going to keep using that as the example. And then it goes on, the law works, that's it. Start towards your desire and goals. Health, success, etc. Results are sure. So results are surely going to happen. No doubt, no fear. Like if you go to the gym every day and you're doing your sit-ups every day, you're like without a doubt going to get them six-pack of abs. Natural law will give you all you look to realize and enjoy. Yield to the law yourself. And then it went on to give a poem by Arthur William Beer. And it's just called, yeah, the key takeaway of it is giving. So I'm going to read that out. Let me just copy this into my phone, actually, it'll make it easier. Command, oh, you little. Command copy. Yep, paste, thank you, paste. Right, so this poem reads as, to get he had tried, yet his store was still meagre. To a wise man he cried, in a voice keen and eager, pray tell me how I may successfully live. And the wise man replied, to get you must give. As to giving he said, what have I to give? I've scarce enough bread, and of course one must live. But I would partake of life's bountiful store. Came the wise man's response, then you must give more. The lesson he learned to get was forgotten. Toward mankind he turned with a love new begotten, as he gave of himself in useful living. Then joy crowned his days, and he grew rich in giving. And once he became rich in giving, the assumption is that he then also received. It was a nice little way to end that. It's the way that I'm going to end this. That was chapter 5, the law of receiving. Just double checking that I'm not tripping. Yep, chapter 5, law of receiving. And the next chapter, which is chapter 6, is law of increase. So that will be next. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you took some sort of value from that and a new perspective, an insight into a perspective you maybe already had, whatever it may be. And yep, bye bye. That was chapter 5, law of receiving.